A very warm welcome on this auspicious occasion of Dakini Day and Mother's Day to the Bardo of Living, the first in the series of presentations on the 6 Bardos. My name is Sering, and today it gives me much pleasure to welcome our guest speaker, Tulku Ngawang Tenzin. Ross and Annie Zangmo are our tech support. We begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and other lands and recognise their connection to land, waters and culture. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present and emerging. A very warm welcome to Living is Dying, Tulku Ngawang. We are delighted. Hey, we are delighted to meet you online, and we'll be looking forward to meeting you in person when you come to Australia later this year. For those of us who are meeting you for the first time, we'd love to hear something about your life. Is it okay if we begin by asking you a few questions about your life?
Yeah, sure. Please go on.
I heard that you were born in 1987 in Sikkim, and at the age of 8, you were recognized by Kabji Troshik Rinpoche as the incarnation of Gawe Shanyan Losel Rinpoche of Kahong Ladang Monastery in Tibet. So how was your childhood in Sikkim? Were you living in Gangtok at that time?
Yeah, I was born in Sikkim, but I spent most of my childhood in Darjeeling. Darjeeling in Jigme Khyentse Rinpoche's monastery, Ogyen Kunsang Chogoling Monastery. So because my parents, they were also serving Jigme Khyentse Rinpoche, Drupal Monjo Rinpoche, Rangdu Rinpoche, and they were disciples of Kangyu Rinpoche.
Oh,
so
wow.
I spent, yeah. So
We've
my
all
childhood.
seen the movie Gandhi Road, and many of us have seen the movie many times. Yeah, so that was where you grew up.
Yeah, so I spent my childhood in the monastery, but I used to go to a school nearby. It's called West Point School. So every day I used to go to school, and after coming back from school, I used to just play around with the monks. Yeah.
Right. So then you were recognized as an incarnation of a past master. And how did your life change after that?
I don't think it was a big change because I was already living in a monastery. And after I was recognized, and from the very young age, I always wanted to, be in the monastic environment. So it was very, how should I say? It was not a big difference.
But you did go to spend time with Kabji Taklung Setral Rinpoche in Shimla. So at that time, you left the monastery in Gandhi Road, and how old were you when you did that?
Yeah, so I was around like 14, 15 years old. So after I got recognized, and because my previous reincarnation had some connection with the Northern Treasure tradition, so I had to, so my parents and also Trishul Rinpoche, they all suggested that it's good for my further training, for this studies training, I should go and seek guidance from Talon Siddha Rinpoche. So that's why I went to Shimla, Dojata Monastery, which is the main seat of the Changdir tradition, the Northern Treasure tradition. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. And so fortunate that you were able to spend that time with Kabji Taklung Setral Rinpoche at that time when he was there. It's really amazing. So you also went to study at Songtse Institute in Chontra. How many years were you there?
I was there 9 years.
Wow.
Yeah. After I did like I was there for a few years. After in Shimla, I was there for a few years. Did studies of all the Changte tradition. Not all, but I tried to study most of it. But after that, His Holiness Dalai Lama once visited my monastery in Sikkim, and he suggested me to go for higher studies, Buddhist philosophy studies. So then, yeah, I chose Tongsa Shedra to go study Buddhist philosophy because it was close to Shimla. So whenever I have a break, I can, I'll go back to Shimla.
Yes. Yeah, it's amazing being there in that area of the Himalayas, and your monastery is in Gangtok. And can you tell us a little bit about your monastery?
Oh, my monastery. My monastery is in the heart of Gangtok town, Sikkim, and it's called the Guru. Locally, it's called Guru Hakang, but the full name of the monastery is Guru Kubum Taglung Sanga Chokorling. Basically, Guru Kubum means we have Guru Rinpoche, Guru Padmasambhava statue, and we have 100,000 Guru Padmasambhava statues in my monastery.
Wow.
And yeah. And we also we also practice the Northern Treasure traditions.
Yeah, that's amazing. So you also manage the Buddhapada Institute in Kalimpong in West Bengal, and you lead courses in Buddhism and meditation there. Can you tell us a little about Buddhapada? That's a new institute, isn't it? And
Yes.
what do you do there?
So basically, I was invited by Tsongsa Khyentse Rinpoche to give some time here and try to manage here in Buddhapada. So Buddhapada is in Kalimpong, which is in West Bengal, and it is 3 hours drive from my monastery. So I live close by. So that's why Tsongsa Khyentse Rinpoche asked me to give some time here. So basically, I work in the management, organize programs. So it is a similar concept. The institute is a similar concept as Deer Park Institute in Himachal, Bir. So we also do similar work like Deer Park. So we have workshops on all kinds of art, music, and contemplative culture, and also many Buddhist retreats and teachings. Basically, we organize all kinds of teachings and philosophies and programs on the ancient Indian wisdom traditions. Yeah.
And you've only been going a few years, and that's been during the pandemic, and it seems like there's been lots of programs, lots of different programs. So it's amazing what you're doing there.
Thank you. Yeah, we're trying whatever we can. But yeah, the response is really good. People are really enjoying the space. It's a very beautiful space. The main founder is Nichang Rinpoche, who is a master. He lives in Japan, and he built this institute within the course of 15 years. It took him 15 years to build. And it is very beautifully designed by a Japanese architect. And so the architect is beautiful, the space is beautiful, very calm, peaceful. So people just enjoy it so much. Yeah, so that's why it's going really good. Yeah.
Yeah, and Kalimpong's been a crossroads for all the ethnic groups of the Himalayas for many years, and it must be really helpful that you're fluent in Tibetan and English and Nepali. And how do you find interacting with these different cultural groups?
Personally, for me, it's very inspiring because through Buddhapada, I'm getting to interact with a lot of different people from different backgrounds. So personally, for me, I get to know their world. I get to interact with them. So it is a lot of, information about the world, how people are, going through in their lives. So in that sense, personally for me, it's also very helpful.
Mm. And I'm sure it's really helpful for the people who come there too. Really must be. And as well as all this, you're also the head of Bhumisparsha, touching the earth and steering the awesome initiative to plant 84,000 trees on this earth. And how is that going? And what other plans do you have for growing Bhumisparsha?
So earlier, Bhumisparsha was, it started with during the pandemic, right? It started when all the people were locked down into their home, and it started with the online gathering, Bhumisparsha. And later on, after a year, then we started also encouraging people to plant more trees in order to save the earth and also to touch the ground, what Bhumisparsha represents. But from this year, we are going to a different phase from online to physical gathering. So from now, we are planning on having more events, like physical events, so people can come in and they can interact physically, in person. So we'll be organizing more events, different places. Hopefully
Yeah.
it goes well.
Yes, we all enjoy getting back together. It hasn't happened a great deal here in Australia yet, but we're hoping that when you come, it will be a good excuse for us all to get back together again. And yeah, so we all remember you as the monk in Kenzie Norber's intriguing and magical film, Looking for a Lady with Fangs and a Moustache, The Psychic Monk. And there was one other short film, at least one, by Rinpoche, where you were also a monk. And I heard you're very interested in film. And tell us about your wish to make films yourself.
I don't know if that is possible or not, but yeah, but I was interested in watching films, like the monastic people, their leisure time pass, is watching films. So I used to enjoy watching films, but I got the opportunity to work with Tsongsa Khyentse Rinpoche in his film called Looking for a Lady with Fangs and Mustache. So there I got a real experience of working in a film set. And that was really interesting, very new experience. I got to know how filmmaking works. So then, then it inspired me, like, maybe someday, if it's possible, then I'll try to do something. So that's only a wishful thinking.
Right. Well, speaking of films, we'd like to show a 1-minute film just now by Leanne Metcalf, our talented SIA Melbourne Regional Coordinator, and her partner Pete. They made this film especially for this occasion, and they're also looking forward very much to hosting you in Melbourne when you do come to Australia. And this film contains comments from our Living is Dying Facebook, Insta, and Bardo Cafe followers on the question, what is life? And this film is dedicated to Leanne's father, Eric, who passed away recently. So I hope we all enjoy this film.
A finger snap,
A succession of clicks.
a cosmic joke, an unbearable mirror.
A dream we take too seriously.
Everything fades away.
Just a moment,
Here and now.
a momentary state between birth and death.
Constant shitting on a potty.
Planning to live happily ever after without any success.
Life is pleasure, terror, and beauty of embodiment.
Life is an illusion I cling to.
Life is what you make it. Every moment, every thought, we are creating the karma, writing the story.
Life is my projection.
A chance to wake up.
Non-stop projection until the projector wakes up.
Lightning.
Life is easing others' suffering and always offering compassion.
Life is happening when you realize, or not, you are together with all beings.
Life is walking towards the graveyard.
Thank you, Leanne and Pete. And thank you to all our friends for your comments on what life is to you. And now we'd like to hear from Tulku Ngawang about the Bardo of this life. I'll hand over to you. Thank you, Tulku Ngawang.
Thank you, Tsering. Thank you. And thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak with you all. And first of all, I'd like to offer my greetings to everyone. So today is a very special day. It's Dakini Day, and also coincidentally, it's also Mother's Day. So I would like to wish everyone happy Dakini Day and happy Mother's Day. So anyway, to talk about the Bardo, I personally feel that I'm actually not really qualified to talk on such a big subject like this Bardo. But I've been given this opportunity, and I also felt that if I do this session, I will also get to learn. Anyway, right now, the 1 minute film actually explains everything about the Bardo of living, Bardo of this life. So very well presented in a very short clip. So anyway, to talk about Bardo, I'll be talking about the Bardo of living, the Bardo of existence. But to start that, before, I'd like to talk a little bit about what does Bardo means, right? So Bardo, the Tibetan word Bardo, Par, means it's a gap in between. So not here, not there, in between. It means par. So basically it is a intermediate state between past and future. And the word do, Bardo, the Tibetan word do, means a crossing or a junction where you get to decide on where to go. Right. So it's very beautifully designed word, Bardo, very short, and it is a profound word also at the same time. So the So the Bardo, intermediate state of Bardo of this life, and the overall Bardo teachings goes on with the Bardo of dream and the Bardo of samadhi, the meditation, and then there is the Bardo of dying, and then there is the Bardo of dharmata, the Bardo of luminosity, and then there is Bardo of the becoming, the Bardo of rebirth. So in the Bardo teachings, the categorization of Bardo, sometimes it's there's a 6 categorization, but sometimes it's also 4 categorizations. The Bardo of living, and the Bardo of dream and the Bardo of samadhi is also included into the Bardo of living, because when we are living in this life, the Bardo of dream, sleeping and dreaming, it is also included in the Bardo of living and Bardo of samadhi. So sometimes it is also categorized in 4 Bardos. Yeah. So I just explained a little bit about the word Bardo, but in order to understand the Bardo of living, basically Bardo of living is the period from our birth, from the time we take birth from our mother's womb till the Bardo of death, of disintegration of our elements. So when we die, when our breathing stops. So the Bardo of living, the period is from birth till death. So our main topic for today is the Bardo of living, and it is a very grand topic. It won't be possible to just share everything in just 1 hour. So I encourage everyone to, of course, study more and do research more on this, and also listen from different teachers, and it will be very helpful. So to understand the Bardo of living, I'll explain a little bit about all the 6 Bardos, which will be very helpful to understand the Bardo of living. So the Bardo of living I've just explained, and also the Bardo of living, it is considered one of the most important Bardo, because the Bardo of living is the only Bardo and the best, therefore the best time to prepare for the Bardo of death, and to become more familiar with the Bardo of living. It is important to understand the teachings of Bardo and stabilizing the practice of the Dharma, so that it will really help us during the Bardo of death and so on, right? Because in the Bardo of living, we have some sort of how should I say, a control. Usually in the dream state, if it's very difficult for us to, have a control over dream. Whatever the dream comes naturally, we just go with the flow with the dream. But in the Bardo of living, there is a really good opportunity to be aware and to make decisions. The junction, you get to choose the junction, right? So this is the Bardo of living, very important. And the Bardo of dream, again, Bardo of dream you know, the Bardo dream is also included in the Bardo of living. Usually when we go to sleep and after sleeping, then all our body, the eye sensation, the ear sensation, all the 5 sensations goes into sleep mode. It is similar to dying, but we are breathing, right, while we are sleeping. But then all our 5 sensations also sleeps, and then we have only the mind consciousness, which is through that we see dream. So Bardo of dream, if we can practice the dream yoga, the dream meditation, then again it will really benefit us during the Bardo of death, which is very similar to the Bardo of dying, the dream. So this the Bardo of dream is basically after we go to sleep and till we wake up, when we are dreaming. So that is the dream Bardo. And there also, if you can practice, if you can practice well the dream yoga, then there also you have some control, which if you can do that, then it will be beneficial during the other Bardos, especially the Bardo of dying, the Bardo of luminosity, and the Bardo of becoming. And now we have the Bardo of samadhi, or the Bardo of meditation, which is also included in the Bardo of living, right? So the Bardo of samadhi is basically when we start meditating in the Bardo of living, right? The period from sitting on a meditation, till we wake up from the state of meditation, that is the Bardo of samadhi. And again, why we do meditation, why we do practice, is because, again, to have some sort of control over our mind, over our emotions, and again, so that we can come to a junction, we can come to a decision where we have some kind of control. And when we have that, if we have that, then you have an opportunity to liberate yourself from different entanglements of life, different sufferings from life. So that's why we do meditation, right? So that is the Bardo of samadhi. And then we have the Bardo of dying. Again, this is a very crucial Bardo, the Bardo of dying. Because it is said in the teachings that there are opportunities during the Bardo of dying that we can liberate ourselves, right? If we have some sort of practice, if we have some sort of practice in the Bardo of dream and the Bardo of samadhi. So that's why the Bardo of living is very important. And the Bardo of dying, it starts from the beginning and the process of dying, right up until the dawning of the nature of our mind. And that's what we call the ground luminosity at the moment of death. So basically, the Bardo of dying is disintegration of all our elements. So again, the Bardo of dying is again very crucial and very important if we have some practice during the Bardo of living and the Bardo of samadhi and the dream. So this is the Bardo of dying. So we have 3 more Bardos, which is the Bardo of luminosity. So the Bardo of luminous Bardo encompasses the after-death experience, which is like the radiance of the nature of mind, the luminosity, sometimes also said as the clear light, which manifests during the part of luminosity, which manifests as the sound, color, and light. So if we are not, if we haven't practiced well, so during that Bardo, you will have a lot of sounds, experience a lot of sound, color, and light, and especially if you are practicing the Vajrayana deity practices, sadhana practices, then there are a lot of yidam and the deities appear. And if we cannot be, if we cannot, how should I say, recognize them, then it can be very difficult for us during the Bardo of luminosity. So again, Bardo of living is very important. If you have some practice, then you have some control during the Bardo of luminosity. And now we have the Bardo of the becoming, the Bardo of rebirth. It is generally the intermediate state, called the intermediate state, which lasts right up until the moment we take a new birth. So after the Bardo of luminosity, the process of taking a new birth to the next life, right? So that is the Bardo of becoming. I will not go into all these details because I myself, I don't know too much about it. So anyway, this is just a brief explanation on the 6 different Bardos. So anyway, what distinguishes and defines each of this Bardo is that they're all gaps. They're all, gaps and periods. And in all those gaps, in the different Bardos, there is the possibility of awakening. And the awakening is there. It's particularly present during all these Bardos. So the opportunities for liberations are occurring continuously and uninterruptedly throughout this life and death. So there are junctions, a lot of junctions that if you're aware, you can, if you're aware during those junctions, then you can take steps, and then you can change. You don't really have to go through all those difficult situations during the Bardo of life and death. And the key or the tool that enables us to discover and recognize them and to make the full possibility, the Bardo of teachings, if you try to understand the Bardo of teaching and study, that is the key and the tool to recognize them, and you can make the full possible use for them. Right. So these are like just a brief explanation of the 6 different Bardos. And there are many different teachings on the Bardo. Basically, the Bardo Tudol Chemo, which is the great liberation through hearing in the Bardo. So usually, when a person is dying, we read this in front of the person who is dying and who is also passed away. So upon hearing the teachings of the Bardo, which is basically a guidebook or a travelogue for the after death states, and which is designed to read by a master or a spiritual friend to the person as the person dies and after death. So all these teachings, the Bardo Tiruchimo, the great liberation through hearing in the Bardo, if a person is not a practitioner, just by reading the Bardo teachings will also benefit a lot. So basically, the Bardo Tiruchimo is the Bardo teaching is the teachings are handed down by the great master Padmasambhava and later on revealed in the 14th century by the great Tibetan called Karmalingpa. So this is just some information. So the Bardo of living, there's so much to talk about Bardo of living, but generally, if we talk about the Bardo of living, and to make a great use of the Bardo of living, we have to, I think it's important, we have to understand the sufferings, the dukkha of this Bardo. Only if we understand, and if we understand the dukkha of this Bardo of life, then there is some encouragement, there is some inspiration to practice, and then to also understand the other Bardos that, usually when we talk about practicing, we only talk about this life, right? But the great masters from the past, they are so skillful that they have given us opportunities to also practice while you're dying, while you're dreaming, and while after death states, you can still practice. So those are very skillful methods. But usually we always think about practicing in this life. Most of us, we have a set of, timing during a day on practice, my daily practice. But the practice can be done anytime during the day and throughout this life, and also after death. So these teachings are very, very important, and it is very beneficial, I would say. So anyway, to talk about a little bit about this Bardo of living, we all have the Bardo of the suffering of this life is everybody goes through this suffering, is the suffering of birth, the suffering of aging, and the suffering of sickness, and the suffering of death. But when Siddhartha Gautama, Buddha Shakyamuni, when he first left out from his palace, and when he saw all this, because his situation, he had never seen this, right? And it was a big shock for him to see this sufferings. But for us, we see this all the time, and it doesn't shock us too much, because we keep seeing, we are so used to seeing like birth, aging, sickness, and death. So anyway, then we have to also think about what is suffering for us, what is the real suffering. Of course, these are the sufferings we all go through, but in today's time, in today's age, what are the sufferings that we go through. There's so much of suffering that we go through. From a child, we have to all go through, studying and going to school and being disciplined is a big suffering for a child. And when you grow up, you have go through all different kind of entanglements, and then after studies, then there is a pressure of to get jobs, to make your own career, to make a living. So everybody has to go through that, and that itself is a suffering. But we kind of accept it, and then we go through it. And then once we make our living and we finish with our college life and all of that, then then there is the mid-age where you have a family, you are married to a husband or a wife, and then you have kids, and then you have to think about the kids and all of that. So it keeps on going on, all those things. But we human beings, we are so, how should I say, the conditioning has been happened like this, that we all accept it, and when we go through it, and why we all accept this, and because we are conditioned to think like that, and we don't realize that our Bardo of life is it's going away, it's decreasing, and we are getting closer and closer to the Bardo of death, and we are not prepared for the Bardo of death. So again, to think about the sufferings of life, which might inspire us to practice and prepare for after death. And if we can do that, that's how we end the cycle of the samsaric life. Because if we think all this Bardo we go through, and then back to the Bardo of birth, we are again doing the same thing again and again, over and over again. So, but when we are born, a new baby born, all our previous lives, karmic actions, we don't really remember. It's like it's erased from our system, right? So we don't remember. So then we start again, all over again, and this keeps on going on, and we keep creating more karma, more karmic actions, and then we keep diving more into it. Nowadays, you see, it's like the Bardo of life has become very, very complicated, and I think it's getting more and more complicated, because now we have this thing called technology. We have this thing called mobile computers, and we are connecting through this online medium, right? We are seeing each other. In the olden days, when there was no mobile smartphones and there was no computer, life was kind of simple. And we interact more in person. But now, to interact, to get to know people is even more difficult, because what you see on the digital platform is not really true, because how can you describe your real being in a digital platform. And also we are so insecure that we only present ourselves in the digital platform, all the nice things, right? We never present ourselves crying or going through a difficult time. So we don't see that. And many of us, we have this conditioning, or whatever we see is real, you know, whatever we see through our, and we're not even seeing in person, we are seeing in the screen with a lot of different layers. So why I'm saying it's complicated? Because now we have even more layers, right? So to interact, because we have to live in this world, in this part of living, and we have to interact. We are social animals, and we have to interact. We have to socialize. We have to make connections. But then you are trapped into an illusion, which is not real, and we ourselves, we don't present it as a real. So it's very difficult. So the Bardo of living is now again becoming more and more complicated. But again, it's a good news if we can realize this, if we know the truth of what is this digital platform. And now the future is, they said, it's the artificial intelligence. It's going to get even more complicated. But if you are aware, and if you understand how all these things work, and if you understand the truth, the illusion of it, then you have the junction. You have the decision making, how you want to go forward. And that's why the Bardo of the teachings of Bardo is important. Because all these Bardos that we are discussing, it is actually an illusion. It is actually an illusion. And the teachings tell us to get to know that illusion, get to know the truth. And then if you get to know the truth, then you are aware. And if you are aware, then you can make the decisions, right? So this is that. And I hope you guys are not getting bored. I hope I'm not wasting your weekend, your Sunday.
Not at all, Rinpoche, not at all. And there is a question in the chat that might be good to address at this point.
Okay. Let me check. What is okay?
It's from Kirsten.
Can you read it?
Yes. Dear Tulku Ngawang, how do we recognize those junctions that you talked about during the Bardo of living?
Okay, how do we recognize those junctions, right? It is a little bit of a long process, but that is the way to do it. First of all, as I said, we need to understand the illusion of this life. We need to understand the suffering of this life. And if you understand that, then you have the motivation to study the Dharma and practice. And when you study, usually the Dharma, when you study the Dharma, we are in our teachers usually encourage us to samgum. It's meaning like listening, contemplation, and practicing. So if you can do that, which is the main foundation of studying the Dharma, and to be free from all sufferings and the illusion, That is the base. If you do that, then you are more confident because you are already informed. You're already well informed with all the knowledge. So it is important for us to study, listen to different teachers, read different books. So basically, why we need to study, why we need to know the teachings is to understand ourselves first, and also to understand all phenomena. And if you have all that information, then you are able to decide from which junction where you want to go, right? So also study, and not just study, and don't just believe everything whatever you study. Buddha Shakyamuni himself encouraged us to contemplate, and whatever the teachings that we have, we must study and contemplate, analyze all of those. And then once you are confident that, oh, these teachings, these methods, these techniques, the instructions will really benefit, if you are very sure about it, if you are confident about it, then you should practice, right? So if it's helping you being more aware, then you have. So basically, you have to be more aware through reading, listening, contemplation, and practicing. And when you are more aware, you will get to recognize the junctions. So that is the answer to that. So anyway, I'll continue a little bit more. So now I talked about a little bit of the suffering of our life, and we all can contemplate on our own life. I cannot generalize the suffering for everyone. Everybody goes through different experiences. So the beauty of the Dharma is that we have a mind, and then we can contemplate, we can analyze ourselves, what kind of sufferings we are going through, and what brings those sufferings to us, and then how to practice with different antidotes to those sufferings, right? But in a generalized way, to encourage and motivate ourselves to practice and be more aware, we have something called, there is a teaching called the four thoughts, right? In Tibetan, we call the Lodok Namshi, the four thoughts that turns the mind to Dharma. To be aware, we should, our mind must, it must turn into the Dharma. Without that, it is not possible, right? So to turn into the Dharma, we have this forethought. We contemplate on these four thoughts. And what are those four thoughts? The first one is the precious human birth, how difficult it is to achieve and obtain this precious human birth. And if you realize that, then you will not waste your time. You will make full use of this precious human birth, right? And then the second is the impermanence of life. Our life is so fragile. We usually expect that we will live long. We are healthy right now. Nothing will happen. And we might live until like 80, 90. But the way we live our life, we never think that we will die. So, but life is so fragile that we can die any moment. Anything can happen to us. So to also contemplate on the impermanence of life. And also the third one is the sufferings of samsara. Of course, we all are suffering, but along with us, along with myself, there are so many sentient beings who are going through the same suffering. And to contemplate a little bit on the suffering, then you might get motivated to encourage to practice the Dharma. Sorry, I'm having a cough, cold and cough. Anyway, and the fourth one is to contemplate on the karma, causes and effects. Because if you understand the concept of karma a little bit, then all your actions, basically karma means action. All your actions, you will be very careful of how to live your life, how to act. So to understand all of that is very important. So the four thoughts that can turn your mind to the Dharma, and if you can do that, once your mind is turned into the Dharma, then you just have to go on and study, contemplate, and do whatever you can to not waste your time and to prepare for the Bardo of death and for others. And if you do that, your karma, your negative karma will decrease, and then you will be accumulating more virtuous karmas, and that will end the cycle of all the Bardos, and you will be liberated if you are aware, and you can make full use of the Bardo of living, the Bardo of dream, and the Bardo of all others, so on. Anyway, to understand a little bit more about the precious human birth, as Shantideva said, like a like a blind turtle's neck poking through a wooden yoke hole on the churning ocean. So it is taught that the human life is very difficult to obtain. So to understand the precious human life, it's important to understand the 18 freedoms and advantages of precious human birth that might inspire you to practice the Dharma, to be more aware. So there are 18 freedoms and advantages of precious human birth. The 8 freedoms from the states where there is no opportunity to practice the Dharma. So to understand, there is the states like a hell realm, or the predator realms, or the animal realm, or the god realm. So there are all these different states where there is no opportunity to practice the Dharma. When you are in a hell realm, you are so full of suffering, you go through a lot of suffering, that there is no time to think about Dharma. There's no time to think about practice. So you have to understand that you have achieved a precious human birth, and this is the opportunity where you can actually practice. So even in the predator realm, there is no opportunity to practice. And if you are in the animal realm, then again, there is no opportunity to practice, like so and so. And there are 10 advantages of human rebirth. There are different 5 circumstantial advantages and 5 personal advantages. And the circumstantial advantages, 5 circumstantial advantages is you are born when Buddha has come, right? Buddha has walked on this earth. And then the second one is he has walked and then he has taught the Dharma. You are in a time period where Buddha's teachings are still available, right? And not only available, it has survived. There are times in the ancient time when Buddha's teachings have been declined. So in today's time, Buddha's teaching is still available and it has survived. So we have access to the teachings. That's why it's considered that human life is precious because there is still Buddha. And when I talk about Buddha, it's not only about Buddha Shakyamuni. There are living Buddhas, our masters, great masters, who are in human form, and they go around everywhere to teach. And the fourth one is there are followers of the teachings, right? The Sangha, the company of the Sangha that we can rely on, and whenever we are in need, they help each other to practice the Dharma, to understand the Dharma. And the fifth one, this fifth circumstantial advantage is that there are favorable conditions for Dharma practice. Even on a Sunday weekend, we're using the medium of technology to understand the Dharma. How beautiful is that, right? So we are making full use of these opportunities of achieving a human rebirth. And there are 5 personal advantages of achieving a human rebirth. Is being born as a human being, that is the first one. Being born in a central land, basically being born where, you know, all the Buddha's teachings are available, and with faculties intact. We have all the faculties intact to practice the Dharma. And the fourth one is we have a lifestyle that is not very distracted, you can say. We are kind of aware. We feel that this is important to understand the teachings of the Dharma, teachings of the Buddha, and so that we can be more aware, and finally we can liberate ourselves and others. And we are also, the fifth one is we have faith in the teachings of Buddha. That's why we are here, even on the Sunday weekend, right? So yeah, so these are all the advantages of human rebirth. And if you understand these advantages, then I think it can motivate us to practice Dharma more diligently and not waste time, and then prepare for the Bardo of death and Bardo of luminosity and so on. Anyway, I want to also mention another point, which is called the 6th door of projection. We all go through this during the Bardo of living. Earlier, I've talked about different realms, right? So as a human being, as a human being, we have these projections, we create these projections and create our own experiences of each of these, different states, different realms. So the projection and experiences caused by desire. Human beings, we usually have desire, and that lead us to the human realm. We all have some sort of desire, so that's why we keep on going on in this the path of living. And human beings also, we go through the projection of the state of pride and ego that leads us to the God realm. So you have to understand that when you are in a state of pride and ego, then you are in a God realm. And when you are in a God realm, there is no junction. There is no, because your projection is like a God, so then there's no junction. So there's very less opportunity for the junction. And then we also experience the state emotion of jealousy, right? Which leads to the Asura realm. We all go through this. Whenever we are jealous, we cannot think straight. We don't see the truth. We create a projection, which is like an Asura realm. And when you are in that realm, then there is no junction. There is no opportunity to choose the junction. And then we also go through this confusion and lack of awareness, just like distracted all the time. So that leads us to the animal realm, So when you are in that realm, when you're confused, when you are distracted all the time, then there is no time to practice. There's no time to choose the junction, to make the decision. And then we have the greed. Sometimes we go through the emotion of greed, and that leads to the preta realm, the realm of hungry ghost. So when you are in the emotion of greed and all, then you don't see the real illusion, and then you are swept away through that emotion, and there's no junction. And the last one is anger. We go through anger emotions, and when we are angry, you don't see anything. You cannot see what is right, what is wrong, and you go along with that emotion, and that represents the hell realm. When you are angry, you are actually creating suffering for your own self. So these are the 6 doors of projection that I wanted to. Of course, the part of living, it's so vast. There's so much to talk about, and I am not a qualified person to talk about all of those things. Of course, please continue more to study and ask different teachers, read from different books, and then when you have that confidence, then go on and practice. And of course, Siddhartha Intent Australia, the Living is Dying, is organizing this series of talks. I'm sure there are other speakers who will come and talk on the different states of Bardo. And of course, they will share more detailed versions of the different Bardos, and please listen to them and also ask questions. So this is from me on the Bardo of living. I hope this will be beneficial. Please, if there's any questions, please let me know. I think we still have some time. Do we have still time, or did I take a lot of time?
We don't have very much time left, Rinpoche.
Okay.
We due to start Dakini Day Sok.
Okay.
Yeah, but your talk was just really wonderful, and nobody's left. We still have 90 people online, and I'm sure everyone's enjoying as much as I am. It was really, really interesting. I was so glad when you touched on the special sufferings of this modern time and the things involved with the illusion, the extra illusion and extra layers, of the dealing with our technology and
that's the suffering that I'm going through.
yes.
I'm going through myself.
Yeah, well, I'm sitting here, we have our screen that smooths out the wrinkles, and I don't probably look quite as old as what I am. And it's very extra illusion. And there's lots of thank you messages coming through right now. And thank you so much, Tulku, for this incredible talk. Perhaps Annie Zangmo, you might like to read some of them, some of the messages.
Yes, I'm seeing it. Anyway, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to interact with you all. I'm so glad that I'm meeting you all, even though we are very far away. But again, through this technology, we can make good use of our time.
Yeah.
So I thank you, everyone, and thank you for organizing Siddhartha's Intent Australia. Thank you so much. I don't know. I don't have much to say. Hope we can meet soon who are in Australia, and we can connect and interact more.
Oh, we look forward to that very much, Tulku Ngawang. Yes, it'll be such a joy to actually have you here, and we hope it happens soon. And perhaps we can now just recite the dedication prayer together.
Okay.
This virtuous accumulation of merit we offer, so that all obstacles dissolve, and at the time of death each of us may find ease in dying and swift rebirth in the pure land of great bliss, quickly gaining enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. And we look forward to seeing you all again on Living as Dying on June 11, when we explore more deeply the Bardo of Dream. So thank you so much, Tulku Ngawang. It's just been such a joy. And there are many other people who are in different time zones who watch our programs through the recording. So I'm sure they'll also really appreciate everything that you've said to us. And we've found it very heartfelt and very much help to us in our understanding of the Bardo of living.
Thank you so much for organizing.
Okay, thank you, and please be well soon. Yeah.
Have a great weekend and happy Dakini Day and Mother's Day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Leanne and Pete, I forgot to bring you online before Tulku Ngawang left. So we'll have to arrange that another time. But he really loved the film.
Oh, fantastic. It was great. No problem. Thanks, Sarah.
It was a great talk, wasn't it?
Oh, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to him coming soon, I hope.
Yes. Yeah.